Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Coach Timmy and today I'm going to bring you something a little bit different. Today I'm actually going to have a little bit of a rant and a little bit of a talk about the state of competitive Fortnite and why I think it might be heading down the wrong path. Now I want to try and frame this as a way that we can improve it rather than just bagging on the negatives and continuously slating them like the community seems to do these days. So I want to sort of talk a bit about what's wrong and then go into how we can improve it. But I think I don't want to script any of this. I want it to just be my thoughts. I want this to be a bit of a conversation. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about the video. My issue with Fortnite at the moment is three things. We've got the staleness of it, the poor updates, and then what we had from initial impressions. So I'll talk about staleness first. And I think one of the real issues is that there doesn't seem to be any real imagination anymore. Back when it was first, Chapter 1, and we had Season X, and you had all these cool different things that were being implemented in the game. You had the slipstream, you had Neo Tilted, all these things that were looked at as relatively revolutionary on the game. All sorts of different weapons involved, and they've sort of done all of the tricks they can do. When the lever came out, that was a nice cool addition, but aside from that, we haven't really seen anything that's I think contributed positively, competitively to the game, or if it doesn't contribute positively in a competitive sense, it's not been entertaining. So I think if you're drawing away from the competitiveness of the game, you want to at least make it as entertaining as possible. So I'm thinking about stuff like the Flint Knock Balloon strat. The Ballers made it entertaining because it got super stacked late game. So I think stuff like that, despite drawing away from the competitiveness of the game, they at least provided a bit of entertainment and some stuff that was enjoyable to watch. The issue that I'm having right now is that any new update that is looked upon as innovative or trying to go somewhere different with a game, you're trying to find a new step, isn't really entertaining to watch, and it also doesn't add anything competitively. We don't have those cool and innovative strats, and this is one of the reasons that I'm super high on the dub this season, having something that's kind of out of left field, something that you haven't really seen in a while, maybe since Season X, where something, it's just been rare these days that we find something that's been really interesting and awesome to watch. So I think that's one of the things that I'm worried about, is that the game's getting a little bit stale. It's hard for these guys to come up with new ideas and then integrate them well into competitive, because this is an established game now. We've had 2 years of pretty well-established competitive scene, so it's hard for them to kind of balance that, new items and then keeping the game at a competitive state. So it's sort of a balancing act for them, and what I'm really interested to see in the coming seasons is if they go down the complete entertainment route and see if they can bring in some of that stuff, like I said, like the balloons and the shopping carts and the quad crashes, all that stuff that sort of brings an element of competitiveness to the game that's also entertaining, or if they go down the kind of bare bones route like we saw at the start of Chapter 2, sort of going back to the days of no movement, only materials to rotate, really stripping the game back to its bare essentials. And that's kind of like, it sort of really makes it more skill-based, but it also makes it less entertaining, in my opinion, compared to when you've got lots of chaos going on. So something to think about. That's my first issue with it. It seems to be getting a little bit stale. The ideas that they have don't really integrate well into competitive, and if they do, they're not hugely entertaining. Now, secondly, I think the poor updates really do have to be talked about. We've had quite a few updates recently that people just haven't enjoyed, and I was high on the update that we had just recently for Season 6. I thought it was quite cool because, again, it came back to that idea of wanting something that wasn't just the same old, same old. We've been playing the game for a long time now, like I said, 2-3 years at this point. If you've been playing for that long, you don't want to continue to just be playing the same game over and over again. When they bring out updates, there have to be changes that make people want to keep playing, keep working towards new things. And again, that's a really hard balance for them to make about trying to have new season content and making sure competitive stays competitive. However, I think they went down the wrong route this season, and I think they also did that a couple of seasons up until this point as well. So it's hard to balance. The idea of crafting is cool, I just don't think it was executed correctly, and now they're basically going down the route of not removing crafting from the game, but basically making, makeshifts moot because so many of the regular guns just spawn now. So hard to sort of see where they go from here with this season. I think they'll be ready for this season to end because of how poorly it's been received, and of course the community is ready for it to end as well. But that's my second point. I'm not a huge fan of the season. I don't think anyone's really a huge fan of the season. And we haven't really had a season that everyone was really excited to play. Maybe apart from Stark's season. But even then, people, everyone always complains. It's an extremely negative community. Everyone's always finds something to complain about. They never focus on the positives. So if you're watching this and you're one of those people, please keep that in mind. These guys are working towards making a good product for you. At least think of the positives and give them feedback on that. Don't just focus and hone in on the negatives. At some point we have to be good customers as well. We've got to tell them what they're doing right as well as telling them what they're doing wrong. Okay, my last issue, and this is actually my biggest gripe about Fortnite in general, is the initial impression that this game gave. The reason I want to talk about this the most is because I think it actually frames the issue that most people in competitive really care about, which is prize pool. Now, of course, we've seen prize pool being reduced since right at the start of competitive Fortnite. Obviously, we started pretty low, but as we started to really see things ramp up, prize pools were through the fucking roof. I remember at one point it was top 20 for money on OCE, and the first place winner, I think, got $2,500. At one point, top 50 every week in OG trios made $200 in OCE. They were handing out money like it was candy, and there was a time and a place for that, potentially, but I don't think it was then. I think they needed to build up to that. The issue is that people saw this. They saw them being really generous with their money, and then when Fortnite needs to pull things back, there's obviously the backlash. Where's the prize pool gone? How come we're not getting the funding that we should be getting? And I think if you guys have seen this report, apparently Epic were expecting around $156 million worth of revenue from esports, but if you're not collaborating with organizations, if you're not collaborating and doing sponsored streams, all that sort of stuff, imagine if there was a sponsor for every FNCS broadcast that they did. That would be a huge amount of money that they could bring in for esports. And then, of course, you think about potentially doing a power skin, potentially doing an NRG skin, potentially doing, I don't know, back in the day, that Optic was even involved in Fortnite. If they did that sort of stuff and supported orgs, brought orgs in and worked with them, rather than leaving them on the outs and not really letting them know what's going on, I think we'd see a lot more revenue generated for the esports side of things, and prize pools wouldn't have taken the nosedive that they did, and community would be less pissed off. One of the things that I also think wasn't mentioned is that there was a considerable number of players playing competitively on console who just stopped playing once the console cups finished. Fair enough. Of course, on console you're limited and it's really difficult to be able to keep up with the PC players, how quick they are. You've got shadows, everything runs slower on the console, so I totally understand them quitting, but completely forgetting about them, I think, went to show when we saw the response to the fact that we're having a console cup specifically in the next couple of weeks. That tweet got like 21,000 likes. 21,000. The announcement for FNCS got like 7,500. The amount of people who are wanting console support was through the roof. I don't think we've seen a response to a tweet like this from Epic in a long, long time. And it's simply because it's not really possible for these PS4, even PS5 players to keep up with the players who are on PC. It's just not viable. And by taking away their prize pool, you're essentially taking away everything that they're working towards, because if they can't compete, what's the point? They're not going to play competitively. They sort of fall out of love with the game. They maybe stop playing Arena so much. They stop spending their V-Bucks. I think pulling console completely out of it was, I've got to be honest, a poor decision from Epic. I don't think that they should have taken away console-specific cups. So we'll see what happens from here, but I really think they've approached a couple of these things in the past and then leading into the future in the wrong way. So I'd really like to see a bit more community engagement. But I think one thing as a community that we really, really have to do, if you take one thing away from this video, please, we have to start thanking and praising Epic for the stuff that they do right. Think about it if you're an Epic employee. You go on Twitter and immediately the first thing that you see is complaints non-stop. Yes, there are issues, don't get me wrong, I totally understand why there are complaints, but all you see is complaining. When something goes right, when they do something well, we never see praise for it. And I think we need to tell them when they're doing a good job, because I think it's important to develop a good relationship with the developers as a community. From there, they want to work with us if we're good to work with. At the moment, we're just a bunch of 15-year-old kids who tell Donnie Mustard to go fuck himself. Okay, we can't be like that. We need to try and work with these guys, tell them what they're doing wrong, tell them what they're doing right, and really try and create the best product that we can. Because at the moment, I gotta be honest, the only thing that I see this doing is continuing on that downward trend. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments, guys. Sort of, I just kind of ranted a little bit, had a little bit of an explosion of what I thought. Tell me if you think I'm right, tell me if you think I need to shut the fuck up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.